It's the Isaiah Grass Show wherever you are.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to IGMP TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Grass, introducing great media to people like you on the Isaiah Grass Show. Today's guest is an award-winning director known for producing over 45 feature films and numerous TV shows that have been seen by audiences worldwide. Please welcome Sean McNamara. Sean, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great, having a great day in California.
I bet you the weather is beautiful. Now, Sean, I had the opportunity to meet you on the red carpet at the Infinity Music and Film Awards. So it is such a pleasure to be able to talk to you and interview you right now. So thank you so much.
Oh, you bet. That was a great night at the Infinity Awards. And you were not only wonderful on the red carpet, but up on the stage too. You gave an incredible performance.
Oh, wow, Sean, thank you so much for that amazing compliment. That is super kind of you, especially with everything that you've done in your career. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, Sean, for the very beginning of your career, you produced the children's TV show Kids Incorporated on Disney Channel, which aired for 9 seasons in the 1980s. So for listeners who are just hearing about you today, or for the many that are very aware of what you do, can you tell us what inspired you to produce television shows for children, and how did you get into the TV and film industry?
Well, first of all, do you remember the theme song? Kids Incorporated,
Yes.
Kids.
Yes.
I love musicals. All through when I was growing up, I was in plays and musicals, and to be able to do a show for Disney that had singing and dancing was just amazing. And, a friend of mine, you make friends in this business like that you've known since high school and through college. Right. And he was working on Kids Incorporated and invited me over to work on it and to produce it. And it was just one of the joys of my life, being able to actually do a singing. And they always used the brand new songs of the time in the 80s and the early 90s. It was a fantastic show to work on.
You were also in the musical theater, and you were a cheerleader or someone like a yell leader in college, right? Do you feel like that helped you over time to enjoy being in this industry because you had the opportunity to direct and entertain people? Is that where this came from?
Well, I think you're right. I always look at directing as a coach or a cheerleader. And in high school, I went to Loyola High School, and I was one of the guys who flipped the girls up on my shoulders, and we did cheers, go Loyola. And so that thing of cheering people on and being there, coaching them along. Although I didn't coach the football players, I was there to get them excited about what they were doing. So that's been a thread throughout my life since high school. But when I was in high school, I was doing theater. I was doing plays, Jesus Christ Superstar, Godspell, Hair. And I loved the singing and dancing, but I didn't feel completely comfortable on stage. Other actors would be saying, oh, I feel like I'm one with the people. I feel good being up here. And I was always really kind of nervous, but I'd look off into the sides where I would see people pushing up the levers and the lights would fade on. And something about the technical aspect from behind the scenes really, I found really cool. And I started pushing on that more. And by, when I was 12, my dad bought me a camera on a family trip to Ireland. And from that point, I was making movies with my neighborhood friends. And the same old story. I had no idea what I was doing. I would run up and shoot their close up, and then I'd turn around and shoot somebody else's close up. I didn't know how cutting worked or anything, but it was just playtime. It was fun to make movies. So it's been through my career that just led me to, continuing to want to direct.
Didn't you also hand out newspapers for Disney as a kid?
I was the paper boy for the Herald Examiner in Los Angeles. So I had a route. I would, my mom would help me fold the papers after school, and I would ride my bike around and throw the papers on people's porches. And about a block or two away was Disney Studios in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. So wow. I would be there every day giving them the paper.
Now, when you were younger and you got the opportunity to see Disney just only moments away from you, did that inspire you to say, one day, I'm going to make a TV show and it's going to be on Disney? And look, Sean, you did it. Like, you spoke it into existence, and you've worked with everybody on Disney. That must make you feel so good about yourself, right?
Well, a lot of times I give my mom credit there because back in those days, they didn't have gates around everywhere. Like we could sneak into the back lot at Walt Disney Studios there on Alameda Street, which was a block away from my house. And we would do it. Nobody was there on the weekend. So we were on like the Western sets and all of that stuff. But when I got into my teens, my mom would say, well, you delivered the paper there. Why don't you knock on the door at Disney, and try to get a job there? And I was saying, Mom, there's a gate. You can't really do that way. But she was setting the seeds of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like literally, 15, 20 years later, I get called in to do Kids Incorporated. And then I went on to do Even Stevens and That's So Raven at Disney. So it's been a big part of my life, and I've always lived near the studios.
Well, thank goodness your mom pushed you to knock on the door of Disney, because look, it has opened so many doors in your career. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to discuss Sean McNamara's new movies in theaters. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to IGMP TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Grass, introducing great media to people like you on the Isaiah Grass Show. We are talking to Sean McNamara, a film director who has produced over 45 feature films and numerous TV shows you know and love. Sean, you've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, such as Dennis Quaid in your movie Reagan, Hilary Duff and Casper the Friendly Ghost, Pierce Brosnan in The King's Daughter, and Carrie Underwood, the winner of American Idol in the movie Soul Surfer. I know many of your projects you are the director, but you're also the actor. Do you find yourself relating more to the actors and the character if you are able to do what they're doing? Or do you feel like this just helps you to connect with the audience more by doing this?
Well, first of all, I think I'm in all of my movies because I'm the only one that'll cast me. So I think let's just start right there. But I do it because I want to remind myself what I ask the actors to do every day. I mean, it's easy for me to stand behind the camera and say, do this, do that, and what we're doing. But every once in a while, when I have to get on the other side in front of the camera and act with them, it reminds me how technical it is and how much patience you need. I mean, they've got 100 people, buzzing around them, and they've got to come right into the scene and deliver a performance. And, you can forget that as a director. You're like thinking of the lights and the camera and the focus and, and the performance. You're giving notes and so forth. But once you get to that side of the camera, you go, ooh, you got to slow down a little bit. Make sure you see it from the actor's point of view. And by putting myself in every film I do, it reminds myself that that's a very important element. And it connects me more to, being able to say to the actor, I'm an actor myself and I do this. And it makes them have a little bit more trusting feeling. I can feel it, especially even when we do scenes together. And again, their talent is unbelievable. I did a scene with Dennis Quaid on Reagan, and when you're working with the best, they just bring you up. You're just incredible. And I played a director calling him to the set in Reagan.
You just mentioned 100 people can be around you. The lights, the camera, the demand of everything, all the different people that are on set. You have to be so hyper-focused in what you're doing. Honestly, I think a lot of times people don't really know how difficult this business is and what is expected of you. So, do you prefer working with people who are seasoned professionals, or do you also like to work with people who are upcoming talent? For example, you had Carrie Underwood from American Idol in your movie Soul Surfer, starring Helen Hunt. And Helen Hunt has been in so many movies. So for Carrie Underwood to be able to work with Soul Surfer and you, this is a great opportunity. But now Carrie Underwood has been on television because of the fact she did win American Idol. So she had all the experience of being on camera. So what was that like working with her? And again, do you like to work with people who are seasoned, or are you also welcoming new talent?
Well, Carrie Underwood was just a natural. When we were casting for this, I'd seen another movie that had a music star in it. And I said to our casting director, Joey Paul, would you find somebody in the music business that would be good? And she brought up Carrie Underwood. And at that point, I did not know who she was, other than they gave me a background of what she was, who she was in American Idol and so forth.
Yeah.
And so, but when we announced her in the trades, I mean, it exploded. I had no idea what we got our hands on. And she came in and was lovely. And she's a great actress. She's a performer. So she understood all of this stuff. She's beautiful. She's smart. And she delivered an incredible performance. And from working with, Disney kids, people who are young, who have much less experience, it's in there. And again, that coaching or that cheerleading kind of comes through where I work with them and I'm into rehearsal. We read the script, we kind of put it on its feet, and I encourage them and let them know, even if it's not a great first take or second take, I like say, let's go on, let's move on. So they think it's okay. And we may come back to that take at the end of the day. But once you get them encouraged that they're doing okay, they start to blossom. And kids and new people I love working with because they're almost like just raw. They're just pure talent. And they come across on screen great. That being said, it's great to have experienced people too, because all of a sudden they can give a great performance and it looks effortless, but trust me, it's not. Actors who give great performances do a lot of homework that they're able to get to that level of performance. So I love working with new actors and with veterans.
Well, you have done a great job having the eye for talent and creating movies that inspire people. In fact, you just released your new movie, Soul on Fire, which is out now in theaters, so congratulations. It's based on the best-selling book, On Fire, The 7 Choices to Ignite a Radically Inspired Life. Can you tell our listeners, what's this film about and the message that you want them to remember from it?
Sure. Well, like I said before, I love inspirational movies. Anything that it's like chicken soup for the soul. When I grew up, there were these books that you could read through pages, and it just made you feel great, and it moved you emotionally, sometimes to laugh, sometimes to cry. And like Soul Surfer, I like stories where somebody comes back from a huge loss, like Bethany Hamilton lost her arm to a shark. You think you'd never go back in the water, but not only does she go back in the water, she gets back on the surfboard and she excels in surfing. So Soul on Fire is the same sort of thing. It is about a boy who watched some other boys playing with matches, and they didn't really want him to play because they saw he was a little kid. So he went home, found his own matches, and said, oh, look, there's a gasoline can over there, and literally lit the house on fire, including himself, burned over 100% of his body. Wow. And so what's important here is as he was being wheeled to surgery, he says to his mom, Mom, am I going to die? And she goes, I don't think so. Do you want to die? And he goes, no, I want to live. And she says, well, then you take God's hand and your mom and your dad and I will be there. And you fight like you've never fought before. So I remember when I read that script, just that moment on page 10 or so, I just got all teary just thinking about a little boy's decision to live. So not only did he live, he got through 5 months of brutal physical therapy where they had to change his bandages every day, and they had to stretch out his legs, and the pain and the suffering he had. And then he went on to become a public speaker, like a young Tony Robbins, and speaks all over the world. But what was very interesting about him is I actually watched him live once at a Wounded Warriors. So, it's one thing for people who just go to see him as a show, but to see men that are really broken stand in front of him and he changes their lives with his voice and what he says, he's extraordinary. And that's why I chose to do Soul on Fire.
Sean, I truly feel that when people watch this movie, it is going to touch the hearts of millions. I got a chance to watch it, and I will be very honest, I wanted to cry many times. The storyline is very powerful, and there's so many things that go on in the world. And knowing you've created a story of tragedy and turning it into an inspirational message about faith, resilience, and compassion for others, it's going to make a huge impact. And like they said in the movie, you get one life, make yours matter. Right, Sean?
Yep, that's true. That's a huge message of the movie. You got a life, make it matter. That, and for me, if you notice all of my films, they have some sort of a miracle in it. And I'm always look for those miracles, because you can spot the potholes in life. That's easy. But when you actually look for what the great things that are happening, if your family is healthy or you do have those good things, those are small miracles that are happening all around you. You just have to look for them.
You mentioned reading Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I too remember reading this as a kid, and it was definitely something that motivated me. I remember my mom actually had me reading this when I was younger, and it had so many inspirational stories that just made me feel good. So, do you feel that after making Soul on Fire, that your direction for all of your movies moving forward is going to be inspiration based? Because I know you do all types of movies, right?
Well, I tend to like inspirational movies. I mean, I grew up loving Star Wars, Indiana Jones, things that were bigger than life. Obviously, I love to that sort of thing. But what I found is movies like Rocky, movies that move you emotionally. Those are the ones that I tend to do better at. But it's not to say that I don't try other ones. I've tried almost every genre of film, and I feel like it trains you because in any movie there is all aspects of it. There's comedy in movies, there's drama, there's everything. So you have to go stretch yourself by trying different genres in order to get good at what you want. But ultimately, it's just good stories. I want to move people emotionally. I want to make them laugh. I want to make them cry. I want to scare them sometimes, and I want to give them something to stand up and cheer for by the end. That is the four elements that I love to do in a movie. And I still love to go to the movies. I mean, I love just sitting in that theater, especially with a crowd. It's not, people, of course, they can sit at home and watch a movie and it's okay, but you pause it, you go to the bathroom, you go get
Right.
food. But when you're in a theater with people and you're all feeling those emotions at the same time, it is the
You
best
experience.
experience in the world.
Absolutely. I definitely agree that watching movies in the theater and feeling the emotion together is what it's all about. Speaking of that, we are going to talk about another movie of yours out in theaters after this quick break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to IGMP TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Grass, introducing great media to people like you on the Isaiah Grass Show. Sean, let's talk about your other movie in theaters you directed called Bau Artist At War, based on the true story of Joseph Bau, a Holocaust survivor. This movie has received numerous awards. So, I'm curious to know, while making it, did you ever have any hesitations about what the audience's reaction would be to such a sensitive subject?
Bau Artist At War is one of my favorite accomplishments because I set out to make a movie of a story that happened 80 years ago. If you saw Schindler's List, there was a couple who got married in the Plaszow barracks, but they were kind of small part extras almost. But we found out about the real couple, and we went to Tel Aviv, Israel, and got the rights to their story. And then what we realized is Joseph Bau, was someone who saved hundreds, if not thousands, of Jewish lives in the Plaszow concentration camp because he forged passports. And he was able to take other German people who had passed away, take their name, give it to the Jewish prisoners, and have them escape Poland. And so he literally was saving thousands of lives. That's number one that I think is, just incredible. But then he fell in love. He found Rebecca Tenenbaum when he met her, and they had a love story. They met each other in the camp, which was just a big no-no. The camp was separated by the men's barracks and the women's barracks. So the fact that they could even find each other was a miracle. So that was intriguing to me. And then by the end, when the war is over, he goes to Israel and he becomes part of the Mossad. And then he becomes part of the movement that actually put these German SS soldiers in prison. So it is a sweeping, epic story. But at the end of the day, it's inspirational. And that's what I loved about it. And the performance that Emil Hirsch gives in this movie is second to none. I mean, I just think he's already won tons of awards with all the festivals we've been at, but I can't wait to see what happens during award season this year.
Of course. And the reviews have been amazing, including hearing what Joseph Bau's daughter said. It's an incredible movie that offers a powerful statement of persevering in hard times and believing in miracles. When we think of the Holocaust, we think of all the pain, all the trauma, and all the sadness. But what you did was turn a black and white movie into color, filled with love, inspiration, and hope for others. How does it make you feel to know that people have resonated with this movie and the story behind it?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because the one thing I missed out about Joseph Bau is he was an artist. That was what he did. He painted pictures. And even when he was in the concentration camp, he would take charcoal drawings and draw it on toilet paper or draw it on playing cards. He was able to continue his art. In fact, that's the motif I use to break up the scenes or chapters, if you will. I took art pieces that he did, and he was an incredible artist, and that was what that was. And one of the most gratifying parts for me was his daughters, Leela and Hadassah Bau.
Hmm.
They, when they finally saw the movie, because they saw the script and they were a part of that, but they weren't there like literally on the set. And they go, "You nailed our father. He was funny. He was gregarious. He was inappropriate." And yet it was that brought joy to people's life. Because if you are facing death every single
Right.
day, what you need is those friends that would make you laugh inappropriately, because you go, "Well, what's left? I could be dead tomorrow." So I was able to bring that joy to Vive out of the people who were in the concentration camp. And when the daughters saw that, they somehow said, "We nailed it." And I think we nailed it because I read his book, Dear God, Have You Ever Gone Hungry? So I got a sense of the soul of who he was. And Emil Hirsch is actually the one who pulled it off, because he was able to say those inappropriate jokes on the set. And my goodness, we were nervous. Like, is this going to work? We're telling a Holocaust story. Will the audience get these jokes? And thank goodness they did. They had the laughs with the horror that was also going on. And that is an understanding of how people were able to get through this horrible time of their life.
Sean, I will say it again. You definitely know how to tell a story, which is why you've received numerous awards for your work in movies and TV shows, including the British Academy Film Award and the Imogen Award for Best Director, and dozens of film festival awards for your movies. What do you feel is the reason audiences continue to connect with your work? And did you ever think you would be able to say you are this successful right now in your career after looking back at where you first started?
I remember like praying, all I want to do at a certain point when I was like, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to direct movies, is just at some point direct a family film that, people see. It doesn't have to be super successful, but that was the goal in my 20s. And I got to tell you, when you're in your 20s and you are going up the ladder and trying things, and you get on shows as a PA and it works for a while, and then you're out of work for 2 months, it's a challenge. And you keep saying, am I in the right position? Should I be doing this? And then something would come along and you get a couple of weeks of work and so forth. But the vision stayed there, that I just kept pushing what I wanted to do. And again, I would direct anything, anywhere, anytime. My boss once said, "Would you do a commercial for my brother who owns a welding company in Hartford, Connecticut?" And he said, "Here's $500. Just use a slide and just say something." And I go, "Can I use all these sets here for free?" And he went, "Yeah." And I go, "Can I use those cameras in the closet over there?" And he went, "Yeah." So on the weekend, I got my friends together and did 6 filmed commercials for the Hartford Modern School of Welding. And I made
Very
it like
cool.
flash. I had beautiful girls welding, and I had them driving Porsches, and they'd go, "Hartford Modern School of Welding, go for it." And it was like stupidly crazy. But when I came in the next week and showed it to my boss, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe what you did. And you sure you only spent $500? And I went, "Yeah, mainly it was for film and food. Everybody else worked for free." And his brother actually sent me this big trophy from the Modern School of Welding. But that was my first big break where a professional let me use the cameras. One of the things I find is there are some auteur directors who have a vision and they already know what it is, and they have everybody come and follow the vision. And I think the difference with me is I like collaboration. So I'll read, probably read 200 scripts a year. They come in and you look at them and you go, this is could make a good film. This one needs work and all of that stuff. But every once in a while I'll find one and I'll go, "Ooh, there's something special about this film." So right there you have the story, or sometimes I'll even go, the script is not that good, but the story is great. So we can fix the script and make it great. And then I just start to bring in people I know and actors that I know and start slowly building it up. And that includes, raising the money for it too. That's a part that I had to learn. Like I watch filmmakers who go, "Oh, I don't want to have anything to do with the money part." And I go, I learned very early on, you have to be creative and you have to know how a budget works, because then you can get more of what you want. So whether my budget's $500,000, $5 million or $50 million, and I've worked on every budget in between, to me, the standard has to be the $50 million film. Even if we're spending $500,000, that's just producing. You have to go out and get the sets for free. You got to get the actors for free because you're serving this story and you've got to find a way to do it. So yes, is it easier when you have a big budget? Sure. But then sometimes there's a lot more people, in there trying to adjust what the story is. And like I said, I like the collaboration. I want everybody's input, but at the end of the day, one person has to steer the ship. And that actually then brings you into a place where there's some sort of a tone that all matches. But every film I do is different. Some are generated by studios, some are generated by a writer. I wish I could say they're the same, but I've literally made 45 movies as a director, and every film was different. And they're like my children. Like, I love every single one of them. I can point to, say Soul Surfer performed X amount, so it did better at the box office. But doing this film, maybe it didn't perform as well financially, but I had the best time making it, and I made some great friends on that. So every film you do has something magical about it, and you again have to find the miracles in each one. And every time I do a film, I look back and I go, that this is what was just great about this film. And as soon as I'm done with it, when I've got it through opening night, I generally won't even look at it for like a decade. I remember just recently down in Laguna Beach, they invited us down to watch Soul Surfer again on a big screen and talk, do a Q&A afterwards. And I was like sitting in the audience watching, and I went, ooh, God, how did we do that? I have no memory of how we made it, but it was fun to watch it as like a real audience member because it had been like 10 years since I'd seen it. And it was fun. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That worked out well. And that's where it comes back to. It's not my hands that do it. It's like everybody collaborated together. The actors, the writers, the producers, everybody came together and made an incredible movie.
And you have had an amazing journey throughout your career. Before we go, can you tell our listeners, Sean, where they can find your movies or TV shows? Since you have so many to choose from, I'm sure they would love to be able to stream them after hearing this interview.
Well, starting with Soul on Fire, it's still in theaters right now, just opened on Friday night. And so far it's doing pretty well. So it's going to be nationwide. It's in 2,000 theaters across America. Bau Artist At War is still in some theaters. It started larger and it's getting smaller now. So eventually it will be on like Netflix and so forth. And otherwise, if you just, write in my name, I think it comes up and you'll see these films that I do. And I'm proud of every single one of them. And it's, there's films like Spare Parts or The Miracle Season. These are great movies that I feel like if people want that chicken soup for the soul sort of uplifting feeling, they can go and check those out and they will get that.
Sean, it was truly a pleasure having you on the Isaiah Grass Show. You have a gift for making movies that inspire people and telling a story. Thank you again for this opportunity to interview you. We have a very special surprise for our listeners who want to learn more about you, for the many that already do, but for those that maybe don't, we are going to feature your interview on IGMP TV Network, now on Roku, Apple, Amazon Fire, cable TV, and our media outlets so everyone can enjoy. To learn more about Sean McNamara, make sure to go to his website at seanmcnamara.com or stream any of his movies and TV shows. And don't forget to watch his new movies, Soul on Fire and Bau Artist At War, out in theaters. Would you like to be a guest on the Isaiah Grass Show? If so, please visit IGMPTV.com or IsaiahGrass.com to collaborate. You can also email us at media@IGMPTV.com and follow us on Instagram at IGMPTV Network and Isaiah G Music to stay in touch. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'm your host, Isaiah Grass on IGMP TV, introducing great media to people like you, and you're listening to the Isaiah Grass Show wherever you are. Talk to you later. Bye.